Here's our bell work, right? The equation of the line that has the y-intercept of 0, -5, and a slope of -15. So we got to look at slope-intercept form because they gave us the slope and the y-intercept. Okay, so y equals mx plus b. Now in this form, we remember that m here is the slope and that the b value here is the y-intercept. Okay, and up here at the very top, they say that the y-intercept is 0, -5. So I'm going to just kind of start off my equation. Again, it's kind of like I'm just filling in the blanks right here. But they said that the y-intercept is 0, -5. Now, it's an ordered pair, which is good for a graph, but for an equation, we just want that y value right there. And since it's showing as -5, we show this as -5. Well, they also gave us a slope of -15 right there. So where the slope goes, that's the coefficient of x. Again, I'm just filling in this blank essentially, which is -15. This right here would be considered the equation in slope-intercept form. So here's our objective for the day. I can write the equation of any line from the slope and any point on the line. Take 1 minute and copy that down, please. All right, what we want you to notice about this objective here is that it says any point. Now on the bell work there, they gave us the y-intercept and the slope, but now we may not have the y-intercept. They may have to give us another point, and then we will have to find the y-intercept ourselves. We've known this has been coming because I've been mentioning it throughout this whole unit. Yeah, there will be a mastery quiz on this section next time. Okay, so everything that we're going to be seeing today, you're going to have a mastery quiz on this next time. All right, so there's a couple methods for this, and you kind of have to look at both methods and then just choose which one you like the best. I'm never going to say you have to use one of the methods. Just choose which one you like best and go with that. Okay. So you can just use the regular equation y equals mx plus b. Okay. Slope-intercept form. Now from this though, we know that the b value is the y-intercept, right? There's our b value, and it is the y-intercept. Okay. So what we can do is we can go back to, what was it, module or unit 210 or something like that, where we solved equations for specific variables. And in this one, we would be solving for b. So that's like saying we want b by itself, right? So we could say, look, what I'm going to do is I'm going to subtract mx from both sides, okay? So I'd say y minus mx right here. That's a principle of equality that takes us back, but that will zero that part out. And then you're just left with b, that's the y-intercept, we dropped it. But then it equals the y value, then you subtract the slope multiplied by the x. Okay, now, sometimes there's some confusion at this point. Well, what is y and what is x? That comes from an ordered pair that they will give us, okay? Remember, they have to tell us that some kind of x value and some kind of y value like this. All right, these of course would be numbers, but then we fill in these variables with these numbers. This allows us to solve for the y-intercept directly, okay? And that's what it's showing here. X and y, they're just coordinates from a given point, something like this. Because like we saw on the objective, they will give us a slope, and then they will give us an ordered pair. Sometimes, and we saw just on the bell work, that sometimes is a y-intercept, which makes this easy. We don't have to solve for it then. But if it's not the y-intercept, then we're going to need to use this, at least this method right here. Like I said, there's another method coming, so if you find that you don't like this method, then hopefully the next one will be helpful. Okay, so once again, we got slope equals 1/3. Okay, and that's good to know because in slope-intercept form, no, not this one. So I can write here, right, just like we saw in the bell work. It's just like we're filling in blanks, and they already gave us a slope there at 1/3. So I'm going to put 1/3 here. And then all I need is the y-intercept. Now what we saw on that last slide is, and you could always manipulate this equation for b, right? You could say, well, b, that's the y-intercept. You're just going to take the y value and subtract the slope times whatever the x value is, okay? Because this ordered pair is not the y-intercept. How do we know it's not the y-intercept? Because the x value is not 0. That's how we know. If it was 0, then they would have given us the y-intercept. That'd be very nice, but it's not. So in this y-intercept formula right here, I'm going to replace the slope right now with the slope that they gave us at 1/3. 1/3 here. And then they gave us an x value and a y value in that ordered pair. So we got 3, 5. So I'm going to go in and replace my y and x value from the ordered pair that they gave us. I'll start with the x value, actually. So the x value they gave us is 3. So I'll put a 3 there. And then the y value they gave us is 5. Okay? Now notice, none of this affects the subtraction sign, especially since what I'm going to be doing right now is just using my calculator to put this in. Because the calculator, you can type all of this in, okay? Even with the parentheses. 5 minus, now I push the n over d button because I got that fraction, 1/3. Now just make sure you get out of the fraction before you type the times by 3, which I've done. Times by 3, enter. And it tells me that the b value is 4. Now, of course, as an ordered pair, that would have been 0, 4. But in the equation, that's the only value we need is the b value. So I now put it in as plus 4 right here. This is the equation of the line that goes through this point and has a slope of 1/3. So now that we have the equation, though, just so you understand what is happening here, is it says that the line goes through this point, right? That means that if you replace x with 3 and y with 5, you will get a true statement. Remember, all ordered pairs that the line goes through make the original equation a true statement. So 1/3 times 3 is 1, 1 plus 4 is 5. See how that makes that true, okay? And it's important for you to remember that all ordered pairs on the line will make the equation true. And the only way this would be true is if this was a plus 4 right there. If it was plus anything else, then it would have been a false statement. So we have solved accurately for this y-intercept. So this one, yep, it's going to work pretty much exactly the same. We're looking for y equals mx plus b. So let's set this up, y equals mx plus b. But they gave us, once again, the slope. Okay, it's negative 3/5. So I'm going to replace that negative 3/5 in where the slope goes. That's the coefficient of x, negative 3/5. Okay, but this ordered pair, this x value is not 0, and so we're not looking at this ordered pair as if it is a y-intercept. So we use the y-intercept formula. That's b equals y. That's the y value from the ordered pair. And then we subtract this from the slope times the corresponding x value, okay? Now, these values are negative, and you'll have to keep that in mind when you put these values in. But I'm going to start with the slope, because that was given as negative 3/5. So I took the m value. I'm going to replace this with negative 3/5. Okay? Now I'm going to take that x value that's in that ordered pair, and I'm going to replace it with negative 5. So let's take that x away and replace it with the value they gave us, which is negative 5. Okay, and then the y value also, which they gave us, is in the ordered pair, is negative 1. Okay, so I'm going to replace the y value here with negative 1. And now, just like I said before, you could use the order of operations to solve this, okay? But I'm just going to go straight to my calculator. So I got my parentheses, negative 1, close the parentheses, minus a new set of parentheses, but I'm going to use my fraction button there, they're negative 3 over 5. Make sure you get out of the fraction before you put in, close that set of parentheses. And then a new set of parentheses, negative 5, enter. And this gives me negative 4 on this one. So negative 4 again as an ordered pair, that would have been 0, negative 4. But we don't want the ordered pair right here. We just want the y-intercept, which is negative 4. I put this in as minus 4, and that's it. All right, so what do we do about a problem like this one? It says that the equation or the line on the graph, it just goes through these 2 points, which is it's pretty nice. It's just they didn't give us a slope on this one, okay? Now, a lot of the time since we get so robotic in the mathematics, it's like, well, what do I do right here? We already know how to find the slope from 2 points. We did that in Unit 4, okay? So, that's what I'm gonna do. I have to start by finding my slope. Well, what do you mean? We can find the slope from 2 points? Yes, we can using the slope formula, like this, okay? So remember, in this formula, you have an x value in the denominator, y in the numerator, and that will happen for both ordered pairs. Now, does it matter which one you make first or second? No, it doesn't. Okay, so I'm just gonna go in order as is, because I can see that the x value there for my first ordered pair is 4, and the y value there is 5. Okay, so I go into my slope formula, I replace the x with 4, then I replace the y value with 5. 4, 5, okay? But then we have the other ordered pair, where the x value is 10 and the y value is 14. So I replace the x with 10 and the y value with 14. All I'm gonna do at this point is take this and put it into my calculator. So n over d, 5 minus 14, all over 4 minus 10. Enter, and the calculator tells me that's 3 over 2. Okay, just like this. So, in my slope-intercept form, we got y equals mx plus b. Well, I just figured out my m value at 3 over 2, okay? All I need is to fill in this blank right here with the y-intercept. And we already seen the y-intercept formula, b equals, it's y minus mx. Y minus the m, that's the slope, and then the other x value, right? Like this. And we just figured out the m, the slope value, which again is in this equation already. But I'm going to put it into our formula for the y-intercept as well. So I take the m away and replace it with 3 over 2. 3 halves, okay? So there's that. Now, sometimes this becomes a problem because students are like, well, which point do I choose? Remember, the line is going through both of these points, so either one will make this true. Okay, so if I put 4, 5 into this, it's going to give me the same y-intercept as if I had put 10, 14, okay? So you get to choose at this point which one you want to put in. I usually just do the first one. So I'm going to use the purple ordered pair where the x value is 4. And its corresponding y value there is 5. Okay, so I'm going to take that y out and replace it with the y value in the same ordered pair, 5. Okay. Then all I'm going to do is just put this into my calculator. Yeah, thanks. Make sure you're using the right numbers on this. 5 minus 3, I said 3/4, but it's 3 halves, then times 4. There we go. Yeah, that's -1. Thank you. So -1, which, again, that's the ordered pair 0, -1. But we don't care about that. We just want the y value there, the -1. That right there is the answer. So this is another method, but it's not a required method. We don't ever require a specific method, but it's still kind of a formula, okay? Now, the nice thing about the first method that I like is that you don't have to memorize any more crap. This one is having to kind of memorize a little bit more crap, okay? But the good news is that you can find the slope-intercept form in 2 steps. As long as you know your slope. If you don't know your slope, like we saw in those last couple problems, you will have to find the slope yourself from the 2 ordered pairs that they will give you, okay? But if they give us the slope, then we can just kind of punch it in and then be done, okay? So it is showing that you could find the y-intercept with this formula, but this method will give you the y-intercept after a couple steps. And it's just really simplifying expression. So here is the format, y equals m, and we got in parentheses x minus x. The x1 value, that's where we put the from the ordered pair, okay? That's the x value from the ordered pair. So you'd have like an x1 and a y1. Those are numbers, of course, but you could replace this with that number and then the y value with its corresponding number, okay? But this right here is the format. So just give it a little color. The m, I've been using red the whole time on purpose, and then you got an x and a y value, okay? So everything, again, the green, that's the ordered pair. Now notice it's minus in the parentheses, okay? And then it's plus the y value. The slope, of course, is just a slope. So if you're looking to memorize this stuff, then however you do it is up to you. or whichever method is up to you as well, okay? But I'm gonna proceed with this particular method, although you'll see if you're going to commit to using this other method, just using the y-intercept formula to solve, you can do that, okay? Point slope formula, that's what it's called right here, because what do they give us? They give us a point, this one, whatever those numbers are, and then either we have to find the slope or they'll give us a slope. So you have a point and a slope, point slope formula, okay? Otherwise, we would be using slope-intercept form. But the nice thing about this is it will always simplify into slope-intercept form, okay? So let's get started on this one. All right, well, here's that. It's called point-slope formula. Yeah, point-slope form. So I'm just going to write this out. Y equals m, and then we got in parentheses x minus. We're going to have some kind of x value from an ordered pair. And then it shows usually as plus its corresponding y value, okay? But we'll see that that plus sign, it really just goes with the y value. So if by chance we see a y value that's negative, actually like we do in this one, then we'll just make this minus, okay? It's just a way to simplify, but you could do plus a negative, just as long as you remember that it's still plus negative, okay? Because calculator will do that for you too. Well, they did give us a slope on this one. Slope is -1, so I go into my point slope form, and I replace the m, that's my slope. Yeah, we're going to replace that with -1, okay? Because that was the slope that they gave us, -1. And once again, if they did not give us a slope, they gave us some kind of other ordered pair, I would have to use the slope formula to find that slope, but they gave it to us, that's very nice. Now I'm going to look into the x and y values. You got an x value that's -1, and a y value also that's -1. So I go into my formula, and I replace the x and y values with -1. And again, since it's a -1 for the y, I'll just show that as a -1, okay? But the x being a -1, you could put that in parentheses if you like. You don't necessarily need those parentheses because the calculator will do that work for you. So I'm actually going to take that away, and here's why, okay? Because I know that minus that negative is going to make that really some kind of plus sign right there, okay? It's kind of like what we did with keep, change, change, where if we saw something like this with the negative, you could just say keep, change, change, something like this, right? But I'm just going to show it as one big, kind of big fat plus sign right there. All right, now that I have this point slope form down, I will simplify it by first I'm going to distribute my -1, okay? So I got -1 times that'd be 1x, that'd be -1x's. And then you got -1 there times that's a +1, so that'd be -1 there. Now we still got the -1 out there in the front, so this is what y equals now, okay? Now I said you should be able to do this in 2 steps if you're using point slope form. There's one by distribution. Next, combine like terms, and this will give us slope-intercept form. I'll show this as -1x. And then -1 and -1 would give us -2. Boom. Okay, so there is our equation. Of course, I would make that a phantom one, but I believe on this assignment you're going to want to put that in as a -1. Yeah, in fact, on the homework, this is the way this is going to work out. So this will be a box that you fill in, and then this will be a box that you'll have to fill in. That's it. Okay, so you don't have to actually type in y equals something x plus something else. You just fill in these blanks. Now, once again, if you really didn't like what I just did, then use the other method. But that's pretty much only 2 methods that we have in order to write this equation in slope-intercept form. Of course, you could say, well, I'm just going to graph it, and that'd be fine, because you could find your slope and y-intercept from there. But you'll see sometimes that these values, these y-intercepts specifically, are not whole values or integer values with no decimals. We know we don't really care about the slope being a whole number, or we actually like when it's a fraction, but so y-intercept sometimes that can throw us off. All right, here we go. So we got this 0.30910. Here on this one, they did not give us a slope, so we're going to actually need that. And be careful because some students mistake this for the y-intercept, but remember, it's the y-intercept is where the x value is 0. This is the x-intercept. which doesn't help us in slope-intercept form, okay? Now, of course, you could use the other method to do this one, but first thing I'm going to want on this is the slope, because they did not give us the slope, okay? So that's what I'm going to solve for first, with the slope formula, okay? So, we got, we're going to need a x value in the denominator, y in the numerator for both ordered pairs like this. And I'll start with the first one. Again, I'll say that it's going to be the first one in the slope formula. X is 3, and the y value is 0, so there's 3, 0. And then we also have the ordered pair 9, 10, where the x value is 9, the y value is 10. Remembering that the x values go into the denominator, y's into the numerator, like this. Okay, so once again, just put this into the calculator. We'll tell you what the answer is. So fraction button, 0 minus 10. I go to the denominator, 3 minus 9. And really what I'm seeing in the calculator is exactly what I just wrote down. And this tells me that the slope is 5/3, okay? So the slope being 5/3 is great. And again, you could just find the y-intercept from the y-intercept formula, or you can use point slope form, which is what I'm going to do, because I said I would. So this is kind of how it sets up, something like this, okay? With the slope here, and then you have some kind of ordered pair here and here, okay, x and y. Well, we did just find the slope, which is 5/3, so I'm going to replace the m there with 5/3 first. 5/3, and then I guess I'll use the green ordered pair for this one. 3, 0, so the x value is 3, and then its corresponding y value is 0. All right, that plus 0 is very nice. I'm going to keep it there, even though you wouldn't necessarily have to. But I'll start by distributing my 5/3. Okay, so that's 5/3 times 1. You could put that in the calculator and give you 5/3 x's. And then 5/3, this would be times -3 right there, by the way, which would then give you -5. Okay, so that takes care of the distribution with the parentheses. Still got that plus 0, even though it's not going to affect anything, but y equals this stuff. So from here, I know that there's no other x terms to combine with, so I see that I got a 5/3 x. And then you could say, well, -5 plus 0, that's still -5, you guys. And so once again, this on the assignment, this would be a box that you fill in, and this would be a box that you fill in, okay? In fact, on the assignment, they may even show something like a plus sign right there. So if this was a -5, just fill it in as -5, that's it. Okay, remember that you could have used the y-intercept formula to do this. In fact, I'll do it pretty quick here, okay? So y equals, it was y-intercept b equals y minus mx. And you have to replace the m here with 5/3. And you could use the green ordered pair again for your x and y values. It's not really going to matter, but x is 3 and y is 0. If you put that into the calculator, you still get the -5, okay? Which as an ordered pair is 0, -5. But the main thing that you see here is that the y-intercept is the same. And so it doesn't matter which method you use. Of course, the slope is there. We use the same formula for slope, but the y-intercept, you have a couple different ways to solve for it. So there's our objective. I can write the equation of any line from the slope and any point on the line, okay? So in the past few lessons, of course, they've been giving us the y-intercept, but now we see that it's not necessary that they give us the y-intercept. All we need is some kind of ordered pair. In fact, sometimes they don't even have to give us a slope. If they give us 2 points, boom, we can find the slope ourselves, and then we can find the y-intercept as well. Don't forget that there is a mastery quiz on this stuff next time, and like I said, even on the mastery quiz, it doesn't matter which method you use, as long as you're able to do this.